Hi everyone! Welcome back to another Planetarium live stream. My name is Jessica. I am the director of the Planetarium, and with me tonight is Eli, who I'll let introduce himself.
Hi, Eli. I'm a physics undergraduate student at UMD.
So since it is September, cannot believe it, we are going to do our usual beginning of the month show where we tell you all about what you can find up in the sky over the month of September. And Eli is going to be doing that for us tonight. Before I hand it over to him, though, if you do have any questions throughout, leave them down in the comments. I'll be watching out for those, and we'll answer them either as they come in, or if we can't right away, we will take time at the end of the show to answer those questions. So with that, I'm gonna hand it on over to Eli.
Okay, now let me just fumble around for a minute and make sure I get the right screen shared. Okay, does that look right?
Yep.
Okay, great. Just make sure to get this up. Okay, so what's up? September 2020. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is the harvest moon or the corn moon. Actually, this one isn't technically the harvest moon, but it's just kind of been given that name. So the full moon is actually happening tonight. In about 3 hours would probably be the best time to see it. And September's moon strictly is called, or September's full moon rather, is strictly called the corn moon, and that gets its name from being the time of year when corn is harvested. So like I said, this moon is also sometimes called the harvest moon, and it's kind of just adopted that name because usually the full moon that happens closest to the autumnal equinox is the September full moon. But actually this year, the harvest moon technically will be October's full moon because October's full moon is happening on October 1st, which is much closer to September 22nd than September 2nd is. So as I just said, this year's equinox takes place on September 22nd, and we'll talk about that in a bit. The name corn moon originally comes from northeastern Algonquin American Indians, as it was the time of year that harvesting their staple crops happened, like corn, pumpkin, squash, wild rice, stuff like that. And I actually just learned this today. In Europe, this moon has a couple different names. It's called the fruit moon, as a lot of fruits that are grown in some of those climates over there ripen at this time. And it's also called the barley moon because barley is a staple crop over there. And this is the time of year where you thresh barley. And I actually did a deep dive into what threshing is too. Interestingly enough, that's where you separate the grain from the plant, but that's not very strong. So we won't talk about that much. Now let's just make sure they get to the right slide. Yeah, so in order to find the corn moon this evening, you're going to want to set your sights to the southeastern sky at about 10 o'clock at night. It's going to be up I think you'd actually be able to start really seeing it like 8:30, and then it'll probably be up until probably close to midnight. Um, Maybe a little bit later. I can't quite remember how I was looking at it in Solarium, but the best time would be around 10 o'clock because that's when it's going to be highest in the sky and away from any obstructions. And there obviously won't be any light polluting sources up in the sky that would outshine the moon. But there just really won't be anything to get in the way at about 10 o'clock. And at that point, it'll be about 35 degrees above the horizon. And if you haven't seen before, if you stick your hand out arm's length in front of you, kind of extending your fingers horizontally. Maybe I should do it on my camera. Maybe do that at the end. It'll be 35 degrees above the horizon. I'll give an example of how to get those degrees at the end. And then also kind of able to see in that area of the sky as well, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, and then obviously the image here is showing Uranus as well, but you can't see that one with the naked eye. So, but yeah, check that out. There's a lot of stuff kind of in the same area of the sky this month, and we'll talk more about Saturn, Jupiter later as well. So this is actually one that I learned about when writing the show as well. The September Epsilon Perseid meteor shower is also happening this month. This meteor shower is way less prolific and way less known than the regular Perseids meteor shower. But this year, actually, the Epsilon Perseids kind of had the upper hand, because when the Perseids happened this year, they were really close to the moon. So the moon's light outshined some of those meteors, and it was really close to the radiant, which is where they appear to come from. But for the September Epsilon Perseids, they are pretty far away from the moon, so they're extremely unobstructed. And really far from any other light sources as well. The stars around there aren't nearly bright enough. Nothing there to kind of overpower them. So it would be pretty easy to catch anything that's coming off of this meteor shower. So the radiant, which is, as I said, the area where it appears that they're coming from, which is where you want to look around when you're watching for meteors, is going to be right around Beta Perseus. Now, I was a little confused when I was researching this because the shower is called the Epsilon Perseids, but they appear to come from the star Beta Perseus. I don't know why that is. I couldn't really find an answer, but they'll be coming from Beta Perseus, which is also known as Algol, the star, which in the Perseus constellation is the blinking eye of decapitated Medusa. So if you know your constellations like that, it kind of looks like Medusa's crying in a way when those meteors come from it, which is kind of creepy. Yeah, this meteor shower, like I said, way less prolific than the regular Perseids. You'd get like maybe 5 to 10 meteors per hour, but since it's unobstructed, they'd be pretty easy to find. So as with all showers, all meteor showers, that is, not like regular showers, we believe that the meteors come from a comet that was passing by, but we actually don't know what the parent body of these meteors are. We've never seen it. We have no idea what it is. And that is not super common. For more major showers, we know pretty well where they come from, but for this one, we have no idea. But basically all it is when a meteor shower happens is you're passing through the debris trail of a comet, and we are passing through this comet's debris trail from the 5th to the 21st, and the peak of the shower will be on September 9th. So on September 9th, set your sights in the northeastern sky, right at Algol and Perseus. And if you're not around too much light pollution, I think you should probably be able to spot some stuff if you're committed. The next event that I wanted to talk about was Neptune is at opposition this month. So on September 11th, Neptune will be at opposition, which means that it means a lot of things. It means that it's closest to Earth that it ever gets in their orbits, and it's also directly opposite Earth from the sun. So they kind of make a 180-degree angle with each other. And this means that it is the easiest to see. You can't see Neptune with your naked eye, but if you have a pair of binoculars or, even a small telescope, big telescope, you'd be able to spot Neptune. And this would be the best time of year to see it because it's going to have the biggest size and just be the easiest to see. So yeah, that means Earth is directly in between the sun and Neptune. So here's a little animation that I wanted to bring up that shows what an opposition is. An opposition only happens for planets outside of Earth's orbit. So Mercury and Venus don't have oppositions. But as you can see here, it's just the point in the orbit where the two are closest to one another. Rather than being on opposite sides of the sun or at a weird angle, they're just, boom, right there, 180-degree angle between the sun, the planet, Earth. And they're the closest they'll get. So to spot Neptune at opposition, like I said, you'll need binoculars or a telescope or something. But if you have something like that, just head out, look in the southeastern sky, just to the left of Aquarius, right where that red ring is, and you'd be able to spot it there. Again, I'd recommend about 10 p.m. That's when it would be highest, away from any obstructions. A strategy that I would like to recommend for finding it, since obviously it's kind of hard to spot invisible stuff in the sky, is just get an app on your phone, like a star navigation app. I use on iPhone one called Sky Guide, and I think it was $3 or something like that. Really useful. Shows you right where they are. It just uses your iPhone's camera. You just point it up to the sky, and it'll tell you where stuff is. And it also gives me notifications when stuff is up, which is nice. And I know that Jessica recommends one titled Sky Map for Android users. So I'd recommend doing that. Just make it a lot easier to find rather than just kind of pointing your binoculars or telescope aimlessly trying to find it.
And these are just the two that we personally use. There are a lot of these sorts of apps out there.
Yeah, there are a ton.
Mine is free. I know Eli said his was a paid version, but comes with some other features like the reminders and stuff that mine doesn't have. But there are so many options. They're really, it's a really useful app to have if you can download one.
Yeah, like just in the App Store, look up Night Sky, and you'll get flooded with them, and just pick whichever one you like. So yeah, that would be my strategy for finding it, finding Neptune, if you want to try that. So then next, I wanted to talk about the equinox. Every year, Earth has 2 equinoxes, and I think the best way to describe an equinox is just like the tipping point between seasons. So the autumnal equinox, which is what happens in September, is the tipping point between summer and winter. So it's the day where the sun's light is hitting the equator directly head on. So it's giving equal sunlight to the northern and southern hemispheres. And then as we progress into winter, the Earth is going to tilt away in such a way that the southern hemisphere gets much more light, and it's their quote unquote summer. And we will get much less. And that's why it'll be winter for us. Interestingly enough, the word equinox is Latin, and it means equal night. So, equal night and day, that's where the word comes from. And that's pretty much what it is. On the equinoxes, you get the same length night and day. So on September 22nd, it'll be daytime for 12 hours, nighttime for 12 hours. And then as we progress into winter, nighttime will start getting longer, and it'll work its way up to what seems like 22 hours and 2 hours of sunlight, even though that's just how it seems. That's not how it actually is. And then as we work back to summer, the day will get longer.
Hey, at least we're not above the Arctic Circle.
That's true. Yeah, they just have seasons of dark, which is terrifying.
Yeah, for those who don't know, if you're above the Arctic Circle, you end up with 6 months of constant daylight and 6 months of constant nighttime. Definitely don't want that.
I don't know which one I would enjoy less, to be honest with you. I think 6 months of nighttime and 6 months of daytime would be very irritating for different reasons. So more power to the people that live in that. I do know that people that live up there have to get like blackout shades to put on their house, or else they actually get no shelter from the sun, which I think those things are expensive. So here's a good little video that I found, just kind of explaining what an equinox is. And I actually might have to do something to make sure that sound gets shared, even though I think it does. Jessica, would you mind telling me if the sound comes through?
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Is that coming through?
Nope, not hearing it.
Okay, maybe I'll stop sharing and reshare really quick. Give me just a moment. Okay, I remember you told me how to do this, so I'll try to figure it out. Share screen, share computer sound. There we go.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. All right. So there we go. The first time I watched that video, the music reminded me of the movie The Matrix, which I thought was funny. It's really intense for that video, actually. You got like flowers blooming and like intense music. So yeah, there's the equinox. I think that there's a lot of different ways to explain an equinox and what that means. So I think that video did a good job of also throwing in the example of the equinox means that the terminator, which is the line that separates night and day, splits directly from the North Pole to the South Pole, which I had never thought about previous to watching that video, but that's another implication of it. So yeah, equinox on September 22nd, the night of. The last thing that is going to be really interesting to catch in the night sky is a really close approach of the moon, Jupiter, and Saturn on September 24th. So these 3 objects, which are actually all in the top 10 brightest objects in the night sky, I believe Saturn is number 9, will be perched about 20 degrees above the southern horizon. And then after September 24th, they'll slowly drift apart. Saturn and Jupiter will move one way and the moon will move another. So they will split up. So this is what it will look like at 9 p.m. on September 24th. If you're looking like due south, the moon will be just kind of below and to the right of Saturn and Jupiter. And then, like I said, they'll split apart as time goes on. And I think about 9 p.m. would probably be the best time to catch these, because at that point, the moon's going to be going down a little earlier as well. And this is a pretty rare event. I tried to look up how often this happens, and I couldn't really find a good answer, but it's not very often. So I would be sure to take advantage of it and try to spot them, because it's going to be 3 fairly bright objects really close to one another in the sky. like I said, they're all 3 in the top 10 brightest objects that you can see in the nighttime sky. So I think that's a really cool little coincidence. Um, so enough of stuff to spot in the night sky. I want to talk about some astronomy news and current events. What's up on the screen right now is SpaceX's Crew Dragon capsule, which I'm sure many of you have heard. Crew Dragon completed its second and final demo mission. I mean, what, that must be a month ago now, at least 2 months ago. And it was approved for actual like manned non-demo missions. And almost immediately after the demo mission was completed, NASA scheduled the first real mission. So the first operational flight of Crew Dragon will take place with 4 astronauts and is set to launch no earlier than October 23rd. So we've got about a month and a half in between it happening and now, almost 2 months, I suppose. And this is following a formal certification that came after a bunch of data was analyzed about the Demo 2 mission that carried Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, which brought them up there for, it didn't seem like that long of a time. It must have been something like 2 months they were up there, probably not even.
Yeah, I think it was around that.
Yeah, so, and that was just, testing, make sure it worked, make sure everything went smoothly, and it did. So now it's ready. So the 4-person crew was set to blast off actually like 2 weeks from now. But NASA announced, I believe it was last Friday, that the launch would be pushed back to October 23rd to fit the space station schedule of deliveries, because there's some cargo delivery that's happening around the same time, and there would be some confusion. So spacecraft commander Mike Hopkins, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialists Shannon Walker and Soichi Noguchi, who is actually an astronaut from the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency. He's kind of like a free agent that's coming up with us. Will ride the Crew Dragon spacecraft into orbit on top of a Falcon 9 rocket from Kennedy Space Center on October 23rd, or after if it gets delayed again. And assuming that it launches on the 23rd, they'll lift off at about 6 a.m. Eastern time. And then they'll make their way up there to the International Space Station, which took, if I'm not mistaken, for the demo mission about 19 hours. So it's quite a climb. So a lot of little cat naps will have to happen during that. So very excited about that. Next up, I thought this one was really interesting. I know this image isn't great quality, but this was the only one I could find. I apologize. So an asteroid the size of a jumbo jet is currently having a close encounter with Earth right now. I believe it was its closest last night, but it's still not very close. I shouldn't say that. But it's still close right now. And it came about 1/3 of the distance to the moon and is swinging by Earth right now. This asteroid, which is called 2011 ES4, made its closest approach yesterday evening. And at that time, it was about 75,000 miles from Earth. And they didn't have a great read on what the object's orbit around the sun looked like. So it could have passed closer than that, but they don't really have any numbers out yet. So on this, what you're seeing here, the intersection point is happening right there. So the white line is the asteroid's orbit, and then the blue line is the Earth's orbit. And so we intersected right there, and it came about a 1/3 of the distance from the moon, in between the Earth and the moon, in that, which is pretty close. Not a lot of stuff comes that close. So I thought that was interesting. And then the last one I want to talk about, just because I love how it looks, is SpaceX's Starship. A bunch of test flights were delayed due to coronavirus for Starship, which is now undergoing a bunch of tests and development right now. But Elon Musk at a Humans to Mars summit, which is an advocacy group put on event. Elon Musk offered some updates on Starship, which one of their eventual goals is to use it to bring large quantities of people and stuff to Mars. Wanted to give a progress update, and he said that they're making great progress, and that they're really streamlining production. So they're not so much working on the ship itself, but working on how they work on the ship, and they're making it much easier to do. And hopefully that means that development will go a lot faster, and we'll see something interesting happening soon. So SpaceX, like I said, intends for Starship to take stuff to the moon and Mars eventually. And they have come out with a bunch of prototypes, but so far only one of them has flown, and that was this one that you're seeing here. It flew up 500 feet into the air, and I just love this picture so much because it looks like a barn silo is taking off from the ground. And an interesting thing about Starship is that its hull is made out of stainless steel, which is much, much heavier than the materials that most ships are made out of, and unnecessary. I mean, I don't want to say too strong because nothing's too strong, but things can be less strong and still make an efficient spaceship. And when they asked Elon Musk why he did that, he responded that he liked how stainless steel looks much better, so he wanted to make a rocket out of it. So that is why it is made of stainless steel and not the what are ones made out of now, like aluminum alloys?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I have no idea, but I do know that stainless steel is way heavier than anything else that is used, and he did it because he thought it looked cooler, which I think is cool. So, yeah, that's actually all I have. So I'm gonna switch back and stop sharing. Should we come up? Yep, here we are. Maybe this is what the interior of Starship will look like. Who knows?
Very cool. Lots of cool stuff going on this month.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Eli.
Yeah, of course.
If you do have any questions, now is a great time to ask them. Just write them down in the comments. And while we give that a few minutes to see if anything comes through, I do want to take a minute to talk about something else that's happening in September. We are hosting our first Stellar Saturday event. Since we can't fully open up the planetarium, but we still want to reach out to the community because we miss doing shows with you guys. So we are going to be setting up, the plan is to do one Saturday a month, and we are going to have little mini activity kits to get and take home and make some fun stuff at home. There will be a few fun things to do. There's going to be lots of safety procedures in place. So it's I've also dubbed it our socially distant Stellar Saturday, so that we're all nice and safe. But it's a way for us to kind of get back out to the community and also give you guys some fun stuff to do at home from us. So yeah, that's going to be coming up on September 26th. There is details about it on our Facebook page and on our website. We'll have even more details out as we get a little bit closer. There's still a few things we're sorting out. But the other thing that's going to happen is that evening is also International Observe the Moon Night, which is why our Stellar Saturday is themed after exploring the moon. And so we will have a live stream through our telescope looking at the moon that evening if weather permits. So that will be going on as well. So yeah, that's coming up in a few weeks, September 26th.
Sweet.
Very excited.
Also, another thing that I want to mention, we have shirts available. We're selling shirts,
Yes.
Stellar Distancing shirts. They're available on our Facebook shop. Jessica set that up. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but I know you can order them off Facebook. They're on our website too in the Support Us tab. And I think they're really cool. It's like a cool graphic of an asteroid coming by the Earth, and it says "Keep your stellar distance."
Okay,
Is that what it says?
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to see if I had a picture. I don't have a picture.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty sweet.
But there's also a link in the video description if you'd like to check it out. Because since we are not open right now, we of course aren't getting our usual ticket sales. And so to be able to continue supporting or continue to do live streams and to try and do these monthly Stellar Saturdays, we appreciate any support that the community is willing to give us. So yeah, I am not seeing any questions come in. So thank you, Eli. You guys now have some great items to try and do this month, things to go and see. We hope that you enjoyed the show, that you have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we will... Oh, I guess I should say what we're doing for the coming weeks. I forgot. So Saturday we are doing our constellation show to talk about the constellations that are up in September. And then next week we are doing, I'm blanking now, exoplanets. We're talking about planets around other stars on Wednesday. And then next Saturday, we are doing the history of astronomy. So all of the women who played a significant role in furthering our understanding of astronomy and don't get credit for their work a lot of times. So yes, that's coming up. Now I will say we hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening and hope to see you again. Thanks, everyone. Bye.